Now that we have our multiplayer setup started, it's time to start adding some data to our players. It's one of the most important things that you'll see in a game, keeping track of things like health, money, coins, or power-ups or items. So we're going to build a system that allows us to keep track of all of that stuff across multiple players and then persist that, save off games, and do all of the cool things that you want to do in a regular game. So we're going to start by creating a coin. I think that's one of the easiest things to comprehend and start with, and then we can build our systems on top of that and add in support for all different types of things that we want to store for our player. So we're going to begin by going into the items folder of our art folder. So we've got a subfolder items, and we have 3 different coins here. I'm going to choose the gold coin. You can pick whatever color you want. I'm going to drag mine right out here and take a peek at it. You see that we've got a sprite renderer. Let's see what the position it's at 9 and 2.5. Let's change this to a solid 9 exactly and a -2. It's up there a little bit in the sky. Now I'm going to add a collider to it. We'll start with a circle collider 2D. And if I zoom in, you'll see that the collider is a little bit bigger than the actual coin. It's got a radius of 0.5 meters, and I can drag that in to a value that looks right. It looks like maybe about a 0.3 is good. Oh, maybe like a 0.25. There we go. Nice tight circle right around the sprite render. You can just barely see it, just barely matches. All right, now I want to check the is trigger box because I want this coin to not stop my player. I don't want to have my player jump up, hit his head, and then fall down. I want him to go right through the coin and pick the coin up. So I'll add the is trigger box, and then we need to create a coin script, something to deal with the trigger enter. So we're going to go to the scripts folder. I'm going to right click, choose create, choose C# script, and call it coin with a capital C. I'll go select that coin. Oh, it just opened up my code editor. I'm going to minimize though. We'll go back into Unity. I'm going to go select the coin, and I want to attach the coin script to it. So I'm just going to drag the coin script over here, and then I'm going to rename this to coin. Actually, let's call it gold coin. Maybe I'll add some other coins and use the other coins later. We'll be a little bit more specific. So I've got my gold coin with the gold coin or the coin script on it. Let's open up that coin script and then start by just deleting out our start and update methods. In this coin script, all we want to do is deal with triggers and having our player kind of jump through us, kind of like we did with spikes. We deal on collision enter, or in water, we do the, where's it at? On trigger enter, and we play an audio clip. In the coin, we want to disable the coin, maybe play some audio, and tell the player to get a point. So what we're going to do is delete out the start and update, and we're going to add an on trigger enter 2D. Just start typing and find on trigger enter 2D. Let it autocomplete by hitting enter. And then I'm going to delete that private keyword just to get rid of it and keep things consistent. And first check to make sure that the thing that went through us, or the thing that entered our trigger, was a player. And we'll do that by trying to get the player component from the collision. We could check the tag, but we're going to need the player component if we actually have one. So we may as well just try getting the component and skip the tag check. So we'll say if collision dot, or actually I lied there. We're not going to say that. We're going to say var player equals collision dot get component player. And then we do open close parentheses. Here's where the if statement comes in. If player, so it's just going to check to see if the player exists. Then we'll add our open braces on the next line. And we want to do 2 things. We want to tell the player to take a coin or to add a point, and we'll have it do the audio playing inside of there. The other thing we want to do is turn this game object off. So let's start by typing player.addPoint. I'll just call it add point for now. We could call it add coin. I think we'll start with point. And we'll hit Alt Enter and generate a method for it. That's going to create a method inside of the player class, and that error should go away. I can hit F12 to go to it. I should see this little method here. Then I'm going to hit Control and minus to go back. I also have that bound to the 3rd key on my mouse, so I do that all the time. I hit that button to go back. You can go into your options and your hotkeys, and I believe it's under Tools and Options. It's going to be in a different spot for every editor, but I have that 3rd button there bound to back, so I can just constantly bounce back. So we've got our add point method. The other thing I said I wanted to do is turn this coin off. So to do that, we call game object dot set active, and look at that, it already knows what I want to do. So I'll just hit tab, and let it autocomplete. It knows that I want to set this object to not active. All right, let's save, and then let's go into the add point method. I'll hold Control and click on add point. take me right in there. F12 does that again as well. So we need to not throw an exception, which is to log out an error and stop running stuff. Instead, we want to just increase our number of coins. So we're going to create a variable named coins with an underscore and then increment it by 1. So say underscore coins plus plus and a semicolon. I'll hit home, Alt Enter, and generate a field. And the other thing I want to do is replace this internal keyword with public. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter, but I just like the consistency of keeping things public versus internal. Now, the real technical difference, technically internal was probably a better setting here, or better value here, but I find that it confuses people a lot because there's another layer of protection. And I don't know if I really want to dive into the difference between public and internal, but the core difference, I guess the high level difference for anybody who's curious, is that a public method can be used by things outside of this library or outside of this DLL, which is something that we'll talk a little bit about later, but it's not something you really need to know too much about for a lot of game development. And a internal method cannot be called outside of the library or outside of the DLL, so you can't use it across libraries if you import in a library. We don't necessarily need it to be public, but that's kind of the default that I like to go with, just so that we don't have the extra internal keyword that tends to confuse people. Okay, so we've got our coins plus plus. And just know, though, that internal and public for all most of your use cases, it's not going to make any difference. All right, so we've got our coins here. Let's go take a look at it. I'm going to hit F12, find our coins variable. It should be right here after our other floats, because if we keep things nice and organized, when we auto-generate things, they'll go into the right spot. If you make them mess in your file and you have floats and everything defined everywhere, it's not going to know where to put them. So let's get rid of this private keyword. That one we don't need. It is very redundant. And save. We'll go back into Unity. And what I want to do now is go pick up that coin and see if my score goes up. Well, I don't need a second player yet. I'll just come in with my first player, run around with the keyboard, jump up, and then go see what my coin value is. So I come over here, jump, get that coin. The coin disappeared as I expect. I'll go to the player, and then let's look at my coins value. I'll collapse the sprite renderer, collapse the player input, expand out the player, and since I can't see it here, I need to go into debug mode to actually view it. I've got a couple options. I can go up to the top here, hit the little dots, and choose debug from the drop down. It's just off screen there. And then I can scroll down, I can see that coins is equal to 1. I don't generally like to do that though. I like to switch this back to normal, and then right click on the player and go to the properties window, and then have this nice properties window that I'm going to drag over here. And then I'll set this one to be in debug mode. So that way I have my normal inspector, but then I've got this extra window where I can see the value. So I can see that the coin's value right now is 1. And when I stop playing, let's hit play again. It should go to 0. And then when I jump up and get the coin, go back up to 1. Let's just double check that that's the case. So switch this to debug mode. It was in debug mode, but it's not showing. So we're going to switch it out of debug mode to normal and then back to debug. For some reason, it wasn't updating the view. There we go. It switched to 1. All right, so let's stop playing and go create a prefab out of this gold coin. So we'll go to the prefabs folder. I'll take the gold coin and drop it in here. Then I'm going to zoom out. And I want to place a couple of these coins so I can pick them up with both players. So I'm going to select the coin and duplicate it with Control D and hold Control and just drag it up a little bit. So get these kind of spaced out, get a row of maybe 4 of them, grab this row of 4. So I'll select the first one, hold Shift, select the last one. So I've got all 4 of them selected, then hit Control D and still holding Control, just drag them over to kind of grid snap them. Control D again, do it again. And again, now I've got a 4x4 grid of coins. I don't like that my hierarchy now is getting polluted with all this extra junk, though. It's filling up with coins, and now all I can see is coins here. So I'm going to right-click and create an empty game object. Call this coins. I'll reset the transform position and everything else. Just reset on the transform. Go select all of the coins, drag them onto coins, and now I've got a nice collapsible folder of my coins. Let's save. And then what we're going to do is jump in with 2 players and make sure that the coin values are updating for both of the players and they both have their own scores. Eventually, we're going to turn these into UI elements, but we don't have those yet. So we're going to learn how to use the debug view. So I've got my player here. I'm going to switch this to normal and back to debug. This is player 1. Let's dock this down here on the bottom view. Now I'm going to right click, or I'm going to join first with my second player. There we go. Then right click on that player, or right click on the player's player script. So select them, hit properties, get the second one here, and I'm going to drag this side by side with my first player. So and I've got player 1 on the left, player 2 on the right. I'm going to switch player 2's view here to be in debug mode as well. Scroll down so I can see the coins on both of them. All right, they're both at 0. Now let's go run over here with player 2. Grab a couple coins and watch my coin value go up. Look at that. Coins 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see player 2's got some coins, and player 1's going to run over here, go grab some coins for himself, and you can see now he's got 6 coins as well. So it is working. We're collecting coins, and we're collecting coins across both players. So far, I think this is good. So we'll go into plastic, make sure that our scene is saved. Everything else is saved off so that we added gold coins, or I'll just say added coins, and checking our changes.